You're welcome.
uh this is a musical podcast. Hannah sings. What's up, not my fantasy? Hannah's dying. Hannah hates this. Hi, welcome back to Not My Fantasy, the show where we talk about fantasy films and the lore that inspired them. I'm Cullen.
And I'm Hannah.
And today we're here with Disney fan Lyra.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much
Welcome,
for coming
welcome.
on. Yeah.
Of course. I'm so excited to do this.
Yeah, this is our first installment of Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We're doing a couple episodes for that. And this is probably the better representation of the two films we will be
Oh
discussing.
gosh, okay.
So yeah, but happy Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We're here to talk about Moana.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Have we all seen Moana before this episode?
Plenty of time.
Yes.
You said you used to cosplay as Moana, right, Lyra?
I did. I did. Back when I had my natural black hair, it was an easy one to do. And I think it was the first, Disney princess that I really saw myself in, even though I'm half Chinese. I never really saw myself as Mulan. You know, if anything, I saw myself more as Lilo. And then I watched Moana. I was like, wow, I really see myself in this character. And then I would go to conventions, and because, I'm like darker skinned and I, kind of look like the character, kids would be like, oh my gosh, it's Moana. And it was like a super cool experience versus like cosplaying as like a traditionally white princess. And I mean, I always love those moments, but it just felt like a truly authentic experience, which was super fun because I'm half Filipino and half Chinese. So even though I'm
Very cool.
Filipinos are kind of Pacific Islanders, in terms of culture, but it was a great time, and I love this movie so much.
Yeah, that's cool. I also love this movie. I've seen this movie many, many times. I don't know if I saw it in theaters. I don't know if I got to see it, but um this movie for me also has a close place in my heart right alongside Coco because there's a very strong grandma connection, and
Yeah.
movies with grandmas, like my grandma was like my favorite person. And
Mm.
so I've seen this movie a bunch of times. Same thing with Coco. I still cry. So yeah, so that's one of the main reasons why I love this movie, but also the I Am Moana has been in my head for
Yeah.
like a week or so since I've seen the movie again. Um, and it reminds me about how I kind of became obsessed with hearing the I Am Regina George after seeing the Mean Girls musical. So it's very
The
similar.
new trend, guys. I am Moana. Let's go.
Let's go. I mean, I literally I was running like got back from a run and grabbing like coffee and then like getting in the shower, and I'm like when I'm in a rush, I always play music in the shower so I know I like can track my time, and what
Yeah.
song did I play? I Am Moana.
Yep.
Oh
And I
yeah.
had so many friends who would post pictures of their kids like just walking around the house constantly going, I am Moana. Like kids love
I
this
Yeah.
love
movie.
it.
I saw a great picture. I meant to like save it, but it was someone's like niece or something dressed up as Te Fiti. And so they had made like a custom like wig out of the yarn so it looked kind of
Oh
like
my
trees.
gosh.
And then they had painted her skin green, and it was the cutest little thing. Yeah, so like a tiny little Te Fiti.
I love it.
So I saw that. I think I've only actually seen the movie twice. I saw it like in theaters, and I remember watching it with my sibling when it was on Netflix, being like, "Oh, have you seen Moana? Like, it's really good." I remember telling my mom to watch it too. I remember being like, "I think you'll like it." She was like, "Yeah, it was really cute. I liked that." And I saw it with our friend Alyssa in by the Wahlburgers, but not the same day that, longtime listeners will know the story of when our friend Alyssa met Mark Wahlberg at a Wahlburgers in Boston. And he asks, "Oh, why are you in Boston?" She's like, "I'm studying screenwriting." And then he's like, "What's the best movie this year?" And she was like, "Moana." And he was like, "Yeah, I took my kids to see that. It was good."
Yeah, that's that's her little claim to fame. I love that story every time I hear it.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, maybe I did see it in theaters because now I'm thinking about it. I was like, if that was when we were in grad school, I would have had to see it because
Yeah.
I was seeing everything in theaters in grad school. So,
Yeah. Because it was like, I was like, me and Alyssa were like, let's go see Moana. Yeah. So she was part of my famous to no one Disney high school fanfic where she was
Moana was
introduced.
not our
Yes,
friend
not our friend
Alyssa.
Alyssa. Moana was added later because like I'd already conceived of this story. Like I think Frozen was the new one when I thought of it. But Moana
Okay.
was added fairly early on, and she was playing Pokemon Go when they met her. And
Yeah.
she became part of like the main friend group. So, but I think if I'd planned it earlier, I think I would have given Moana more to do because there's like a couple inconsistencies in like her backstory
Mm-hmm.
that bother me. I'm like, and that's the thing. Fan fiction is like writing TV because once it's out there, you can't go back and change it. So
Mm,
if you contradict yourself, you're like, oh
oops.
well, yeah. Um, but Moana's such a good movie. And it was directed by John Musker and Ron Clements. Now, we've talked about them before. They directed Little Mermaid, Hercules, movies we've covered, but also like Treasure Planet, Aladdin, Princess and the Frog. Co-directed by Chris Williams and Don Hall. Produced by Osnat Schur. From a screenplay written by Jared Bush and story by Clemens, Musker, Williams Hall, Pamela Ribben, and the writing team of Aaron and Jordan Candell. It features original songs written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. You may have heard of him.
Just a little known person in
Yeah.
Broadway media, just in
Oh
general.
yeah.
He's in the Percy Jackson TV series. You may know
Yeah,
him
you
from
may have known
that.
him as
May have seen him around,
who did he
Yeah.
play? He played Hermes, right?
Hermes.
In that,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So a little
yeah.
role for him. Yeah.
Yeah. But so Hamilton in
Disney's
the
golden boy now.
Disney
yeah.
Golden Void, writer of the catchiest, earwormiest songs.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Encanto, Hamilton, In the Heights, The Little Mermaid remake. This man brought us the scuttlebutt, you know? Uh,
A song I did not like.
uh,
It's
but
just noise.
it's just, yeah, that's it. But I do like the songs in this, but also music. Obutai
Although, have you
Foy.
ever heard Lin-Manuel Miranda's uh version of Shiny? It's the funniest thing ever.
I
No,
need
oh
to,
my
they
gosh.
have the
You
demo
need
on
to like listen to
Spotify.
this. I have
Yeah.
a friend who like played it for me and we just started cackling. Like it was so because like Lin-Manuel Miranda can write great music, but he's not the best singer. So he was
Yeah.
Yeah.
basically just like scream singing like Shiny, and it's the best thing. It's like makes me happy on the worst days.
Oh, that's
Ah,
wonderful.
that's my depression playlist.
He's just like Shiny, and I'm just like, you go, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Let's kill it.
Music was also contributed by Mark Mancina and Obutai Foai. The film stars Alihi Cravalho as the voice of Moana, and also
Also in
feature
Mean Girls in the Musical.
yes,
Another connection
Indeed.
there.
also featuring Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Rachel House, Tamora Morrison, Jermaine Clement, Nicole Scherzinger, and Alan Tudyk. Uh,
Alan Tudyk playing everyone except
playing
for the main characters.
You gotta give it to
Like,
Alan Tudyk. He's just like, I mean,
yeah.
I think there was like a video of him like doing like the hey hey like stuff in the recording booth, and he's like, I went to Juilliard.
Yeah,
he's just going
that is yeah, it's so like deadpan too. And it's like, oh, that
you
is
know
also
what?
another great video. It was just like a
I love him in this, love him in Suburgatory. Shout out to anyone who remembers that
love
show.
Oh
him in
yeah.
Dodgeball. I didn't realize he was in Dodgeball. Have you guys seen that movie
Oh
from
yeah,
God,
of
so long
course.
ago? He plays the guy who dresses up as a pirate. And
Oh
it took
wait,
me
oh my God.
forever. And I was like, wait, Alan Tudyk was in this movie? And I saw, I was like, oh my God, that was him. So
That
uh,
is
he's
wild.
also in Tucker versus Evil, uh, which is another crazy movie. He's been in
He
such crazy
works.
things. He does. I
I
mean,
think
he's
his
a
wife is
very,
also a choreographer who did Peacemaker. So there's like
oh
videos of him doing
wow.
like the Peacemaker dance, like to like kind of like block it, and it's the funniest thing. He's just a man of
Yeah.
many talents.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's out there
Yeah, living in the
doing it.
sun. Yeah. And so this movie cost 150 to 175 million dollars, and its box office was 687.2 million. So did pretty well. Just a little. It got 2 Oscar noms for music and animated feature, but most importantly, Dwayne and Ali both won Teen Choice Awards for their performance.
The
Well deserved.
surfboards.
Yeah, they the
You gotta love the
Yeah, they got the
surfboard.
surfboards.
Yeah, but that's I've decided is this podcast's most important award show is the Teen
Yes.
Choice Awards. Talking about Lily James being robbed. uh I mean, Jennifer Lawrence probably did deserve it. So this movie was actually initially pitched to be about Maui. And they were fascinated by this idea that for 1,000 years, Polynesian voyagers stopped voyaging. So story is kind of set in like a mishmash of several different Polynesian cultures, which we'll kind of talk about, like the umbrella term of Polynesian culture. And Moana is an official Disney princess. She was added to the lineup, and like every Disney princess, it's time for our list of what she's the patron princess of.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, beach days, tropical fish keepers, sailing, athletes, empaths, main characters, people who bring ukuleles to parties, single people who aren't annoying on Valentine's Day, water conservation, student council members, people who participate in class, and grandma girls.
I'm Grandma Girl. Oh my God, she is my patron Disney princess. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Those are all great.
I love
Yeah.
it.
It's a pretty great collection.
Hmm.
She has a show in Hong Kong. She has
Which I have watched several
Really?
times. I'm from Hong Kong originally, so
oh,
Yeah.
I grew up in Hong Kong, and I went to Hong Kong Disneyland a bunch. And I think the show started like when I was in college, so I would go to like Hong Kong Disneyland when I went home for Christmas break, and I think I saw the show at least twice, and it's a fun one. It's kind of
Very
interesting because if
cool.
I remember correctly, it was like half in Cantonese and like half in English, so you gotta love the
Very
yeah.
vibes.
cool.
It's kind of like if you've gone to Disneyland, like the Storybook Theater with the Tangled
Oh,
and the Beauty and the
yeah.
Beast show. It's like a very similar vibe. Like it's like an outdoor theater, and like the kids are sitting in the front, and it's like, just all the music and fun costuming and all that fun
I
stuff.
saw the Tangled
That's
show for
cool.
the first time this weekend, and I was
Oh,
like, "This is
fun.
so cute. This is so fun." That's because I got like the SoCal pass, where you can go like 3 times. And
Yeah.
one of the nice things when you go, when you're not like, I don't like to just like see how many rides can I fit in. It's like you get there early, you leave late, and you just kind of like take the time to like watch the shows and enjoy things.
Love it.
Yeah. But the Tangled show is really cute.
It's fun.
Moana, yeah, Moana's also in the parade at Disneyland, which I do love that parade.
Oh,
Um,
Magic Happens. It's my favorite. It's so
that song's a bop.
And then the
And
hey hey that the
yeah, the
captain is
chicken runs
controlling on
around.
the remote
Yeah,
control. It's my
yeah.
favorite thing.
I've never met Moana herself, so I
Mm.
don't know what she's like in person, but I've seen her in the parade, and she's just dancing, she's vibing. Um, she also has an attraction at Epcot that's about the
Mm.
water cycle,
Fun.
educational. That's what she would want. She would want people to learn about that. So there's a lot of lore that we'll touch on as we go into a lore, but a lot is actually made up for this movie. There are a lot
Mm.
of things that when I first saw the movie, I was like, oh, this is like must be something in their culture. And it's most of it is actually original to the world of the movie. And so we're gonna go over some stuff ahead of time, and then other parts of the lore I sprinkled when it's like relevant to the plot events.
Cool.
Uh, so Polynesia is kind of an umbrella term. So that includes the Maori of New Zealand and Cook's Island, and they kind of want to change the name because they don't want to make it called Cook's Island. Samoans, Native Hawaiians, Tahitians, Tongans. So it's like a big group of cultures, and there's like speculation that they all came from the same. This is more anthropology, it's not my area of expertise, but I was listening to a lot of different podcasts about this, that they all came from the same area because they have a lot of similar myths and characters, but they're like all distinct cultures. And
Mm.
this characters vary, but like Maui is in all these cultures. So it's like they're all connected, but they're also all separate. And so sometimes, Westerners, then like Disney will do this where they kind of like combine everything into one, um, which there are pros and cons to that, of like that way they're not like portraying a single culture ineffectively. They're creating more of a fantasy one, but then also it's like the lumping of people into groups. So, but we actually, the thing about Polynesia is we have a lot of their myths intact, or like versions of them, because contact with like missionaries and colonialists was later than, say, like the pilgrims in like North America. And so while that was still like a nightmare, there were many more people who are interested in like learning about like their beliefs, and missionaries were like, oh, well, if we're out trying to convert them, we need to know like what they believe now. And they would write it down. So obviously there's so many levels of bias in there, but so many oral cultures were lost due to colonialism. So like the podcast I was listening to, they were saying, it is a boon to us now that people did write it down, because so much was lost. So like we still have some of this. Whereas unfortunately so many other cultures, so much was just wiped away. So it's kind of like it's like a gem that survived against all odds. And it's beautiful. But maybe we make a world where that doesn't have to
happen. Yeah,
happen.
exactly.
That probably would have been more beautiful. So there is the story of like their creation story, and it features like a Father Sky and Mother Earth character. So the Mother Earth is often called Papa. And there's like an emphasis on the duality of like creation and creativity, like light, dark, heaven, earth. And so this has similarities that like a lot of like Westerners writing it down would like emphasize, similar to like Mother Earth and Father Sky come from the chaos, like Greco-Roman and various European myths. Now that's like we could do a whole thing around the concept of Mother Earth, because there's a lot of evidence that it's like something that we almost like force on ancient cultures because it seems obvious to us. But there is like a Mother Earth figure in Polynesian myths that like emerges from some kind of void or chaos. But chaos is kind of like, that's a Greco-Roman term that people were just applying. But similar, say like the Bible, like it describes the spirit of God above the waters, like the concept of like there was something, some vague nothingness, and then life came out. When exploring Polynesian mythology, it can be hard to track. So the term Hina means like goddess, or a powerful female, queen. And so there are multiple characters named Hina. So distinguishing between them can get confusing, and like people debate, no, this is this Hina. And like one is Maui's mother, one is Maui's wife. But we're going to talk about, I found more stories that featured Hina as Maui's goddess mother. So in the stories, Maui is descended from gods, and she threw him out because she had so many other sons. But he later came back and proved his worth. But there's another Hina that will be relevant later. As Mickey Mouse would say, it's a surprise tool that will help us later. Hina Nui Te Po is the daughter of the forest god Tane, and also and her mother is like the first woman. So she's kind of this dawn goddess, like an Eve type figure. But later she doesn't realize it, but she marries her father, Tane. He like tricks her. And when she finds out she slept with her dad, she's like horrified. So she flees to the dark world, and she becomes kind of the goddess of darkness and death. And so she's gonna come up later. But let's talk about Maui. We're gonna get into like all of Maui's exploits when we kind of reach him in the movie. But like he was this trickster figure, often depicted as more like wiry, kind of like almost like Loki, but he was much more benevolent. Like a Loki like meets Prometheus, kind of like he was very like his deeds helped humanity. So he was thrown out by his family, but he came back to prove his worth, did a variety of mighty deeds, and he's all across Polynesia. And he can shapeshift just because he's like a god demigod figure. But demigod is like a borrowed term, again, like a Western term we're applying. Because as we've kind of discovered throughout this podcast, like most mythical beings, especially in ancient cultures, aren't like clearly defined. Like the difference between an elf and a dwarf, well, like Tolkien decided that.
Yeah.
Like so like we're saying oh demigod because that's something familiar like Hercules, like Perseus, like but like it's much more nebulous than that. Just like in life, things aren't always clearly defined. We never had the DTR with demigods. So also, I think we need to mention Pele, who's a goddess of fire, who lives in a volcano, the volcano Kailua in the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, and she made the Hawaiian Islands. There's like a story about that creation process, and a lot of these like stories were used as like a way to explain geography. So it'd be like a way of like we like first they went to this island and then this island. So at first you're like, oh, it's kind of like the Odyssey, but it was had a much more practical purpose of like like this island, if you reach here, then the next island will be this one because people weren't making like printed maps.
Right.
They didn't have printers to print out their MapQuest DVD. So they just, they had these stories and that was a way to like tell geography. It's like an oral culture. This also surprises me. So a lot of people, if we have any gamers in the house, there's a lot of games that have like mana as like a source of magic, and I always
Mm.
associated it with like the bread that fell from the heavens and the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
in a lot of Polynesian, Oceanian cultures, it's like the spiritual life force or energy or healing power that like permeates the universe, and you can kind of gain it with like good deeds will get you good mana, kind of like a good karma. And like to
Oh,
get more into that would be like I have to do a lot more research into like the details of that. I don't think it's a one-to-one like karma.
sure.
But I was like, is that where like games and everyone like started using this concept?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. That's just a
Yeah,
little
that's interesting. Yeah, I also had the biblical connection.
Me
yeah, and
too.
I was
Mhm.
always like, that's such a weird way to describe magic from
Yeah.
the fallen bread, but this makes
Yeah.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Uh, so that's kind of our background lore. So let's talk about Moana.
Mhm.
Uh, so this movie also opens with a lore dump. We get
Mm-hmm.
Grandma Tala, who she's explaining that like Te Fiti, the mother island, arose from the sea, and all life came from her. But then later, Maui, a spirit of like wind and sea, he stole the heart, and then he was attacked by the demon Te Ka, who is like a fire demon, and so he lost the heart and his fish hook, and now monsters are hunting for the heart so they can have the power of creation. And like Grandma Tala is like telling the story, and all the kids that come Moana are like terrified and they're screaming. And the dad comes in and he's like, "There's no war in Ba Sing Se, like everything's fine. It's like it's okay." And then like more monster
More
tapestries fall
monster
down.
posters just fall
They
down and
just
then they're like
fall
in the
down, and then
dark.
Moana's like,
Yeah, but she's just like unfazed, and those little
Yeah.
exactly.
kids are just freaking out. It's so funny.
I love her grandma. And
Yeah.
I know kids love her grandma because they have like these Disney trading cards. And I gave some to my niece in Mexico. And like one of the kids, she's looking at some characters, she's like, okay, whatever. And then she was like, Moana's abuela. She was like, that was when she was like, oh my gosh. She's like, Mom, look.
That's so funny.
That's so cute.
Yeah,
uh
grandma's like one of the best characters in this movie. She's so good. And that's
yeah.
her introduction, and I'm like, she's so hardcore. I love it.
She's like if they like if the old lady, the magical old lady of Disney has been evolving from like the fairy godmother through like grandmother Willow and Mama Odie, this is her like final form.
Yeah, I mean later she describes herself as the village crazy lady, and I was like, she's who I want to be when I grow up. I want to be the village crazy
Yes.
lady.
Yeah, I
But she's
love
so calm too.
Yeah.
she's seen it all. She's like
She's seen it
Yeah.
all. She knows
uh
how to convince people.
Yeah.
yeah. And so we get this kind of Moana's save the cat moment or her save the baby turtle moment
Yeah.
where, she wanders out to the sea and she sees a tiny little baby turtle. It's being attacked by birds and she helps the turtle reach the ocean. Uh, and then the ocean is like, she's the one.
Yep.
And it does this really cute sequence where it like plays with her hair
Yeah.
and it like gives her the heart. Uh, so it
Mhm.
chose her. But then the dad is like, Moana, like, which to be fair, yeah, if I saw like a toddler in the ocean, I'd also be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can't lift up your own head, you're gonna drown.
Yeah.
I mean, she could barely walk, so like it's a little
Yeah, exactly.
scary. Like, can she swim?
Yeah, no, I had a friend who like he like just like fell over in like a kiddie pool and he like almost drowned as a little kid. Like his mom just like, oh, he fell over, and then she's like, wait, he's not moving because his head was so
Yep.
big he couldn't lift up his head.
Yep. Yeah, they
Yeah.
say that drowning can happen in like inches of water and it's real. So when you're at the water with your kids, keep a really close eye on them. Doesn't matter how old
Don't
they are, doesn't matter how good you think they're at swimming, doesn't matter. Just keep a close eye
don't
because
let them wander off.
shit can get crazy out there in the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, not all of them are chosen by the ocean.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Um, so this is where we get one of my favorite songs in this movie, where the dad and the village sing the song Where You Are, and they talk
Mhm.
about like this is the village, like everything like is happy here, like we use everything, we have like they have a sustainable life,
The coconuts.
sustainability queens. And he's like, you gotta like don't walk away, like focus on like your role and like don't be going out sailing. Like we have like a hill of stones where like, it's their pride rock, I guess, where they like everything, like you place your rock on the land, like be rooted to the land, like stay where you are.
Mhm.
Uh and we also in this song we meet her pig friend Pua.
Yep.
And
I
hey
always
hey,
have wondered why Pua wasn't like a bigger part of the movie because I love Pua. I think he's so cute.
he's
And
so
like
cute.
Hey Hey's the
Mhm.
major part of the movie, and I'm like, I would prefer Pua. I mean,
So
no
Yeah.
shade to Hey Hey, but like, can we not have both? Like,
Wasn't it Alyssa who told us
yeah,
or
and it's been confirmed because I work with people who worked in the movie, and
mhm.
they were like, the Pua was too helpful,
Mm.
and so like Moana, like they needed to make things harder for her, so like Hey Hey makes things
we'll
harder.
give her
Yep.
the okay, fine.
Yep.
But like,
Yeah,
can we not have the two of them together?
together.
Like, I don't know. It was I it's always been like my thing because I love Pua. I think
Yeah.
he's so cute.
And I think Alyssa said he was supposed to have like a big arc, and then they're like, oh, it like overshadows
It's
Moana.
yeah, yeah. His arc,
In
I think,
Moana
had
2,
something to
they
do with
better have more Pua.
yeah, I mean that would be a great way to actually like bring Pua
Yeah,
back because yeah, he really doesn't do much. But yeah, I think she said it was like he was afraid of the water and like over the course of the movie he learned to be okay with the ocean or something. And it was just like, oh, that's too big of an arc because our protagonist arc isn't that great. So, yeah.
yeah. Moana is, I think, a very like, I think to its strength. I think some people don't like this about it, but I think it's a very focused movie,
Yeah.
and I think that's why kids love it because it's like they can. I mean, I love it too, but like it's like you can easily track the story and
Hmm.
like her journey, and I think it's a very simple hero's journey, and like simple isn't always bad. I think simple can be really effective.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a lot of the messiness that some hero's journeys or Disney movies have, where you're like, oh, what's this? Or like that's kind of weird when you think about it.
Yeah, like that kid who would torture farm animals in The Black Cauldron.
Yeah,
And I was like,
Hannah,
this is
Oh
our
no,
protagonist? How? I don't
yeah,
remember his name.
Taryn. Hannah will never
Aaron.
forgive
I
him.
refuse to I refuse to remember his name.
Oh my God, The Black Cauldron. What a movie.
What a
Yeah.
movie. Episode 2 of the podcast,
Shout out.
baby.
Go listen
Love
to it,
it.
everyone.
Uh, so yeah, they sing Where You Are. This song slaps.
It does.
And she kind of, I also just love the how she sings when she like accepts her role as like a leader in the village, that like she's gonna help her community. And I think this is very different than like a lot of Disney princesses that came before, is that she is very like focused on like her role in her community.
Hmm.
And like she takes that responsibility seriously. And like you can compare it to like Ariel, but Ariel's one of like seven daughters. So like she was nowhere in line to run that kingdom.
Yeah.
Uh and like Pocahontas kind of learns to accept a responsibility. But like that's not a priority for her.
Yeah.
Like a
Moana, even Moana's whole journey is about responsibility to her community, even if it is also about her being able to connect with the ocean, that strong
Yeah.
connection she has. So it's like that is very consistent. Yeah.
And so she is like, we'll build our future. But like her grandma is like, sometimes your heart's gonna tell you to follow the farthest star, and that's like who you are, that
Hmm.
voice. And so, but she's good at her job. She's coming up with solutions. She's
Hmm.
like, this is how we gotta patch the roof. She also is not letting people eat her chicken friend because she
Yep.
thinks he's special. But she like they're dealing with environmental issues like coconuts getting rotted, and she's like, okay, let's plant a grove here. But then when the fish are like running out, she's like, well, try the other side. They're like, we did.
Hmm.
And she's like, well, maybe be on the reef. And her dad is like, what? And
Yeah.
then he like publicly goes ballistic on her, and everyone else
Yeah.
is like, I do love that shot where everyone else is like, I don't want to be here for
Ooh. Yeah.
this. It's like when you're at your friend's house and their parent would yell at them, and you're like,
Yep.
I wish I wish I didn't exist right now.
Yep. I wish I could disappear.
I don't want to be present. Uh, yeah. So it's like, yeah, just imagining that also with it's like, but now it's like the president. Like watching like Sasha and Malia get yelled at by Obama. It'd be like, oh. Uh, so he is like, we gotta stay on the land. And but she is wondering, she's torn because she's like, we need to find a solution to like help our community. And that's where we get her I Want song, How Far I'll Go. Which
Another
it
banger.
another banger. I
Another
Back to
will
banger.
back.
back-to-back bangers. I will never forgive him though for rhyming island with island like 3 times.
Oh my God.
But it's still like you can't deny it's a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just got all the beats that you want, even though, yeah, that rhyming is a little bit, cheated, but, is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, what else rhymes with island that would apply everyone on this island? Like my land. That's not better. Just say
Yeah, that's
island
No.
that's
then.
that's
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
Listen, Lin-Manuel
Our
Miranda, he had this conversation already.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah, just
what
just
rhymes
like,
with island? I
the
don't know.
fishermen are like, we tried that. I'm sure,
Yeah.
Lin-Manuel Miranda would be like, I tried that, and
Yeah.
this is the best that we can do.
This is what you
So
can
Yeah.
do.
He's not going ballistic because it's dangerous beyond the reef. He's like, there is nothing beyond this reef. Okay. There is nothing else that rhymes with island.
Yeah. That's him in like the meeting with all the writers. It's like this is as good as it gets.
this is as
Do you
Yep.
good as it's
want
gonna get. You want me to use We want to set this movie on an island. I gotta use the word island. So we're just
Yeah.
gonna rhyme island with island, and
deal with
Just gotta
it?
deal with it.
deal with it.
Uh, but she goes out. She's like, I also really like this movie does a really good job of using the music to move the story forward. Like
Mhm.
it like carries us from beat to beat. And this is something we talked about in Wish. And then I think when I just saw the musical once. I went to a staging of that. And I'm like a musical, the songs need to you need to be in a different place. Like most of the time, like where we started, or like have new knowledge, or like when the song ends for it to be like a functional musical. And when we just have to stop and hear someone sing about like one emotion and it doesn't go anywhere, I'm
Yeah.
like, stop wasting my time.
Yeah.
Rodgers and Hammerstein didn't write Oklahoma for this. Uh, so yeah, they use the song to now she's like out on the ocean and she goes
Yeah. She's
beyond the
like, I'm
reef.
gonna go. This
Yeah.
is how far I'll go for my community. Let's go see what's beyond the reef.
And turns out it's death. She like doesn't know how to sail. She's falling in the water. Pua almost drowns. She has to save him. Uh, so it goes badly. And she gets back and she's like, I'm done. Like, that was a bad idea. I'm gonna put my stone. And grandma, who's dancing with stingrays, is kind of like, okay,
If that's what you want to
that's what you
That's,
do.
want.
the ultimate parenting hack.
Mhm.
She's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And she's like, sure, Jan.
Yeah.
Uh, and she's like, when I come back, I want to be a stingray. Uh, and she explains what happened to her dad and his friend when he went beyond the reef. Um, and she's like, but like, you have to be who you are, So she takes her to look at the ships that are hidden away in a cave. And she's like, see, we used to be voyagers. And she explains after the heart of Te Fiti was stolen, the ocean became too dangerous, so they stopped.
Hmm.
And so this is a chance for Lin-Manuel to sing.
Yep.
It drives me crazy. Like from the moment I saw the movie, I was like, you couldn't let
He couldn't
them.
help himself, you
He
know?
couldn't. I
Yeah.
I feel like this
It's
is
in his
just
contract. He's like, okay, you want me to write the songs? I have to sing at least one.
We
I
know the way, just
Yeah.
Yeah, because I agree. It's like I think he's a much more talented composer than he is singer. Like all my favorite songs in Hamilton are like the Aaron Burr ones or the Schuyler sister ones.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think this was his first project with Disney, and so he was like, I want to sing in a Disney movie.
Yeah.
And I get that. I mean, same. Like you can't fault him for it. I think
Yeah.
it was, see, this is me and my Oscars trauma. I have a lot of Oscars trauma with Disney songs. They had him do a rap at the beginning of Ali's performance of How Far I'll Go. And I'm like, this rap wasn't in the movie. We didn't need this. And it could have been the Oscars saying like Lin-Manuel's a big star, we want him. But it was also
Right.
like, let her shine.
Yeah.
She's a
yeah,
She
Disney
is
princess.
Moana. Let
Yeah.
her do her thing. That's
literally.
annoying.
Yeah. And so I was like, this song is like, okay. But, we learn about how they were voyagers. It's like she has this like vision. She's imagining it. She's seeing how they use the stars.
It's like she gets transported into the past, not to go back
Yeah.
to time travel month, but it is sort of like she like connects with just like the spirit that's in the cave, I guess, because she
Yeah.
like uses the drum. And it's sort of like she's like implanted with the knowledge, but we see sort of like a flashback. It's really interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. It is a good, again, even though, yes, this is an excuse for Lin-Manuel to sing, they use the song functionally
Yeah.
to like impart a lot of information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she's like, all right, and grandma's like, I have the heart of Te Fiti. I saw it that day.
I saw
And
you. I saw you playing in the ocean and it chose you. And I've been keeping it in my necklace. In this necklace.
yeah, what a baller,
Yeah.
truly. Uh, this is such a, because there's a theory that like the heart is what kept the grandma alive all these years.
Oh,
Because that's why like
interesting.
the moment she gives Moana the heart, her health takes a
Yeah,
decline.
that makes
Uh,
sense.
so it's very like, it's almost like Lord of the Ringsy in that way.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like how like the rings like keep things like Bilbo's
One shiny
stabilized.
stone to rule them
One
all.
shiny
Yeah.
stone, like Galadriel uses her ring to like keep her like forest perfect and
Hmm.
undying. Yeah. So Moana interrupts the council. And this is where you're like, she's a teenager. You gotta be like, she's a teenager. Because I'm Moana, this isn't gonna go well.
Yeah.
uh like Cinderella, she sees the world as it could be. That's how it
Yes,
is.
exactly.
She's having courage and be kinding it, and this is maybe the time to just do her thing. Uh, and so she runs in and is like, "Look, I have the heart. We have to go and we have to find Maui and get him to restore the heart, and that's going to save the island." And she's right. That's the thing. It's like no
Yeah.
lies were said. Like they need to do it. And her dad's like, "Don't be silly. Enough with your fantasies. Stop embarrassing me in front of the other elders." And he throws the heart away,
Yeah.
and they see the cane, and they're, that like
Grandma. Mhm.
I think that's what keeps the family, like keeps the parents still kind of likable, especially the dad, is that like he drops that when he sees like, oh, like grandma's, you know,
Yeah.
he
Mm.
doesn't go full King Triton.
Yes.
And
Well,
so
also, I mean, to kind of, because I also made the King Triton connection, but King Triton, it's like we don't really know why he's being such a jerk.
yeah,
Like
the
we get it, but
animated
we don't
one,
have
yeah,
We don't have
the
that context of like what happened.
exactly. And
yeah,
that's
'Cause
why this father, it's like, okay, we get why he's like, no going beyond the reef. We get it.
yeah. King
yeah, because we
Triton,
see him like trying to save his drowning friend, even though we don't see the drowning friend die necessarily. Like there's
Yeah,
still such like an emotional like, oh my gosh, that's why
exactly.
That's
he's so
traumatic.
overprotective because
Yeah.
that's trauma. Disney
Yeah.
It's
trauma.
trauma, baby.
Yeah, and he also doesn't have anything as like scary and upsetting as like
Yeah.
when he destroys the
Yeah, he's not
grotto.
destroying her or like a part of her really. Like he's he's basically being like, this is unsafe. It's not because I don't like who you are. It's because
Well, I think a
I
part of
want to
it
save you.
is he is also unwilling to accept who she is. Like
Mm.
he wants her to be his version of her, which is a version of her, but
Well,
isn't the
yes.
only. She loves her island, but she also loves the sea, right? That's who she
Famously,
is.
it's in the
Yeah,
song.
famously. So but he's gonna have a King Triton moment where he's like, I'm gonna burn all the ships. Like that's gonna happen tonight.
That's
And
true. That's true.
and so but she just beats him to the punch. Because like goes to her grandma and she's like, take the heart and find Mountain. She's like, I can't leave you right now. And the grandma's like, otherwise it'll be too late. This is like you're talking about like an emotional squeeze in a story where you're stuck between like two really hard decisions. Like they put her through the ringer in this moment. And so
Yeah.
we get the reprise and she like gets a boat and she gets out there. Um, and we see like the
Yeah, this
light.
is where her grandma, that was where her grandma was like, you grab him by the ear and you say that, tell him to board your boat and restore the heart of Te Fiti.
Yeah, I'm Moana of Motunui. You will get in my
Hmm.
boat and you'll restore the heart of Te Fiti. So she's sailing away, and you see like the lights in the village go out as the grandma dies, and you see the light in the ocean and the
Hmm.
manta ray, see her
Yeah.
light as it lights up the sea. Uh, and so now with her grandma's blessing, and her
Yep.
mom helped her pack too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, she has two living parents. So
Oh yeah,
What
she
a
does.
change to the Disney. Although the mom, I kind of wish the mom had a little more to do, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like she's like
I feel like a lot of people remember her dad as like,
yeah. So
you
she's
gotta love
kind
a
of
Disney dad though, but we love a Disney mom
we love a
too.
Disney mom. She's kind of
Yeah.
like a Mulan's mom, I would say, like in the story function, like a step above Sleeping Beauty's mom, but we're not at full like Tiana's mom. That's where I put
Mm,
her in
Yeah.
it's like she is a character in the story. Like she has her own
yeah.
voice actress. Unlike Sleeping Beauty's mom.
Yes.
She's a named character and she's involved, but she's not like a main force. But
Yeah.
we have the grandma, like we have like a powerful feminine presence. Uh,
Hmm.
but so she is guided by her grandma. She goes out to sea, and uh, I do like that things aren't easy for her. I think in a chosen one story, what keeps it from being like annoying is if like it still has to be hard.
Yep.
And like so she's struggling on the sea. Uh the hey is there and she's like, hey. Like it's like of
It's
all
like,
the people.
really? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
and
when
like
you
you
go
get
out when like a group of friends are like, we're all gonna go out, and then like you end up with like the friend that gets the drunkest and everyone else bails, and you're like,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
okay, all right, I see how this night's gonna go. All right.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that like you can tell she knows enough like just from being, a person of this island that she knows how to operate the canoe, but not masterfully. Like she just knows the basics. And so that gives her a good starting point of like this is going to be tough because she only knows the basics. She needs to
Yeah.
advance. It's not that she's like completely unaware, so it's not like we're like, "Oh God, she's going to die." It's like,
Mm.
okay, she has this handled, but she could be better to make this process easier. Um, and yeah, this is where she's like constantly repeating the I am Moana of Motunui, you will board
Oh
my
yeah.
boat and restore the heart of Te Fiti.
Yeah. That's her daily affirmation.
Yeah.
uh so because yeah, the chicken, like he keeps walking off.
Yeah, and then she finally just stuffs him in like the little thing with her food. It's just like, just stay there. You're good. I
uh
also love when he has like a coconut on his head and she takes it off
Oh
and he immediately
yeah.
looks around and he just screams. It's so funny.
And then she's like, nice water, good water.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he just walks. She's like, no, okay, not that good.
He's like, okay, great.
I'm wearing a shirt with coconuts on it.
Love that.
Ooh, love
Yeah.
it.
So
Nice and themed.
yeah. Because I was like, I almost wore a different shirt. Then I was like, wait, coconut.
Coconuts.
Uh Moana, wait, so we're here. So she is where she's like the ocean. She's like, ocean, help me. She's like, you chose me, like, help me. And then it like gives her a storm, and she's like, what?
Yeah.
And I don't know, have you ever flipped over in a canoe?
No, it's
I have.
one of the reasons why we have kayaks and I hesitate to go kayaking because drowning is one of my biggest fears.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
See, I
So,
love kayaking because kayaks are light,
yes.
but I was
So I've never
canoe.
been in a canoe. Yeah.
I
And when
mean, I've been in the canoes at Disneyland, which is a whole,
those are
freaking
fun.
not when it's blazing hot, but it is kind although sometimes like, you're a canoe of like what, 16 people, and like
Yeah.
sometimes if you're like in a boat full of kids, they're just like dipping their like oars
Yeah.
in water, like it's like they're dipping sushi into soy sauce, and I'm just like, come on, like, and
Yeah.
meanwhile I'm just like freaking doing the most in the back, but
I know, like, yeah, the girl behind me was not rowing. And I was like, all right, I just gotta row twice as hard. This is why we go to the gym. For the canoe. But
so
I
that we
would
can bring the canoe back to the landing spot and stop waving at the crowd of people that are
yeah, our canoe person was like, we're in Orange County, so be careful. People will judge you. They will make a TikTok out of you. Uh, and because I went canoeing once as a high schooler with uh one of the priests, and the water was really high, and so the canoe tipped over. We're trying to like get under this bridge, and we had his bike on it, and so it tipped over, and a bunch of stuff got. It was a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah, I felt really bad,
Do you ever
but
see that video of that guy who's like stuck in like the river outside his canoe and his friend Sarah is videotaping? He's going, Sarah, Sarah, my canoe. Sarah, help
Oh,
me.
the names,
God.
the sound sounds familiar. Like I can't
Okay.
picture the visual, but I can
No.
hear the
You guys
Sarah.
have to hold on.
Oh
I'll
my
pop
God.
it in the chat. I'll queue it up and I'll
Please.
pop it in the chat for after we're done. You guys
I
have
love
to
it.
watch it.
So the ocean, she says Sarah to the ocean. She's like,
Sarah, ocean, help me.
and
Help me, I'm drowning, ocean.
it takes her to Maui's island,
Yeah.
and she's like, you don't mean this island? Then she sees all the like marks, and she's like, wait,
All the marks shaped in the shape of the fish hook, too.
yeah. And so next thing you know, she sees Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and she's super nervous, and he's all like, oh, like you must be a fan, you
It's
get
Dwayne
that
The Rock
right.
Johnson with a full head of hair.
Yes, that's what's throwing her off.
I
Yeah,
will
he's
say in
like,
the Magic
whoa.
Happens parade at Disney, it's so funny that he can like barely move his arms. Like he's just kind of like
Yeah, I think he's always just done like chest back core day before the
Right.
pretty
parade, so he's
much
just
just
like,
like
I mean, it
yeah,
makes
they can only
sense.
do so much. Uh, so so he's like, yeah, it's a lot, what meaning a fan. So he sings "You're Welcome."
another
About
catchy bop.
another catchy bop. He talks
Yeah.
about his tattoos are like a character.
Mm-hmm.
Like every rom-com, New York's a character. And I usually don't believe it when they say that. I'm like, it's just a setting. Could be a good setting. But does New York learn something about itself? I don't know. But the tattoos are like interactive. They're like his kind of shoulder angel. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
but this is where he sings about his achievements. And so let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about some of Maui's achievements.
All right.
So, back in the olden days, in the time before time, as kids say, the sky was too close to the earth, so like nothing like could fit. And so he lifted them apart. He stretched them apart, kind of like Atlas holding the heavens, but also more similar to there's an Egyptian myth
Mm-hmm.
about the sky and the earth god and the sky goddess, which is a twist. They needed to be pulled apart by the sun, the air god, because otherwise they kept fucking and there's no room for anything to grow or
Yep.
be. So he had to pull the sky apart, but that meant the sun started to run really fast across the heavens, and the day was too short, so people didn't have time to like complete all their tasks, and crops couldn't grow.
Hmm.
So he lassoed the sun with magic ropes made from like a goddess's hair, and the sun had like 8 legs. That's how it was running so fast, and like the sun wouldn't cooperate, so he just like beat the legs until the sun only had some legs left, and then he would,
Damn.
yeah. So he lassoed the sun, then he did some, then he threw hands.
Yeah. Bullying works in this case, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
I guess so.
the sun was not community minded. He didn't care about his
No.
people on the island. Um, then he got fire, and that like getting fire is like a story all over, the world. There's lots of African stories, First Nations stories. There's a Vedic story. There's like Prometheus getting fire. So he's like, okay, we need fire. So he goes to his grandmother, Moika, the goddess of fire, and in the underworld. So he's like, okay, can I have some fire? She's like, sure, I'm the goddess of fire. So she gives him her fingernail, and it's like blazing. And then he's like, okay, great. And then he drops it in the water on his way. And so he keeps coming back until she gives him like all her finger and toenails, and he has one left. And now she's pissed. She's so mad. And so she throws fire after him, and it imbues in some of the flammable trees. And he's like, wait, I can rub them together and make fire. So him stealing fire, getting fire was him just being a little idiot.
Yeah. Wow.
Clumsy, yeah. So don't always believe what the tattoos say.
Mm.
Uh, and then islands. So there are lots of stories like New Zealand or various islands, depending on the community that's telling the story, where they say he pulled them out of the ocean, and it's because his brothers wouldn't let him fish with them. He was the youngest, and so they're gonna go fishing, and they wouldn't invite him. So he stowed away, and then they wouldn't let him use any bait, so he used his own blood. And like a giant fish would took the bait, and he pulled the fish up, and then his brothers carved out parts of the fish, and that like for in the story of New Zealand like made the mountains and the like landscapes. So we can thank Maui for Lord of the Rings.
Thank you, Maui. Thank you, Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
And he says you're
Thank you,
welcome
Maui, for everything.
for everything.
You're welcome.
uh this is a musical podcast. Here's things. And he also tried to get immortality for humanity. So this is where this starts to connect with the story we're telling now. So he tried to get immortality for humanity. The solution was not something that would happen in a Disney movie, though. So he decides in a not this isn't like a sexual, as far as I know, story. Like this, he did not have a sexual intent, but he was
Okay.
gonna shapeshift into a worm to get into the vagina of Hine Nui Te Po, the goddess of the underworld that we talked about earlier, and then go
Uh-huh.
out of her mouth, because that's like reverse death. And so he would conquer death and like give immortality to everyone. But
Okay, I
he
get it.
undresses to turn to a worm, and her bird friends are like, what? And so they warn her, and then her vagina had teeth, and they bit him, and he died. And so death is a thing. He didn't get immortality.
Wow. It's also crazy
Yeah.
that her vagina had teeth.
Yeah. And it's very much like it's not like introduced beforehand. It's just like, then that happened. It's just like
She
assumed.
probably was just like, I'm just gonna grow him real quick and
Yeah.
get rid of this guy.
Yeah, she's a goddess. She's like, let me
She
just
can do
add
whatever she
that.
wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Good for her. Yeah, after everything she's been through, like,
Yeah.
now you're gonna turn to a worm and crawl inside me. Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, leave me alone.
Yeah, I literally went to the underworld because they want me left alone.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, so that's some of his exploits. And that story of like getting immortality is kind of what Maui says he was trying to do here, but in a much more family friendly, high
Right.
adventure fantasy way. Uh
Yeah.
but he, in the middle of the song, he distracts her, locks her up, and steals her boat.
Yep.
Yeah, he's Grand Theft Autoing her. Uh,
Yes.
and she gets her way out and swims towards him in the ocean, keeps throwing her back on his boat. And he's just like yeeting her off, and then the ocean just places her back. And she's like, "You're gonna board my boat. We're gonna restore the heart." And then he's like, "No, don't throw that. Like, don't show the heart. Like, everything's gonna kill you. Like, that's a bad idea." Uh, and then the Kakamora
Mhm.
attack. Now, as far as I know, the Kakamora are a Moana movie edition.
Mm.
I didn't find anything on them. And so they're these little creatures that wear coconut armor. And it's very like Mad Max, like Waterworld.
Yeah.
uh, and so we get like an action sequence where she's like hitting them with like her
That would
oar.
make such a fun ride, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
I mean the
Moana like roller coaster with the Kakamora versus Moana and Maui. I don't know.
I
Think
yeah.
think
it
you're
could
onto
be a lot more
something.
fun than the Way of Water. I mean, I know the Way of Water is like cool with the water that like you put your hand in and and it stops, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think a Moana ride, if you were like come up with 10 Disney attractions they need to have, I think Moana would definitely be on there as like a boat, like kind of log flume type
Yeah.
Hmm.
thing, where you're like, I guess it
Yeah.
has the Tiana's Bayou, or formerly known as Splash Mountain. But like
Oh, is
something
that what it's
where,
called now?
yeah,
Tiana's Bayou Adventure. The animatronics look
they
amazing.
do actually look really good. So I'm excited for that one because I liked Splash Mountain, but
I enjoyed
not.
it for the picture and for the vibes,
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
liked getting wet. I liked
Not so much
like,
for the race
yeah,
this
exactly.
past of
Yeah.
the movie, but
So when people were like, "Oh my gosh, they're destroying it," I'm like, I mean, the parts that I liked will still be there. It'll just be based on a movie
it's
I
just gonna be
have
based on like a
seen.
better movie, and then you're not gonna be asking in line like, who's Brer Rabbit? Who's
Yeah,
Brer Fox? What is a Brer?
yeah, yeah. That's yeah. It's
That's
like
the real question.
to like unpack the Joel Chandler Harris's legacy while you're in line for it. Yeah. But yeah, like something, yeah, with the like them attacking and like because I always thought when they have a Pocahontas Riverbend ride, but like probably should not build a Pocahontas ride, but like a Moana
Right.
ride with like a water
I
splashy
mean,
thing.
people are always like the canoes are like Pocahontas's ride, which is kind of lame, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, it's gotta have Miko in it.
Yeah.
more
Miko and the
Yeah.
animal
hummingbird.
friends, Miko and Pua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love an animal
Love our
friend
animal
moment.
buddies.
Yeah. I think Yeah, I think the white people just shouldn't have been in Pocahontas, and then we probably have gotten a better movie. Just about her living, like doing her forest life. Be like, sign me up.
More just around the riverbend, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
less whitewashing of history's atrocities.
Yeah.
So
No
this
Pocahontas too.
Yeah.
that movie traumatized me as a kid. I was very upset. When we had a friend who wanted to meet Pocahontas last time, so like we met her, and then she was like Pocahontas kept asking me so many questions, and she was like, I just want a picture, and I was like, be nicer. She died of smallpox.
And there's this
Uh,
saying the Pocahontas performer always has to say, like she'll be like, "I like your outfit," and then she has to do
Yeah,
the, like hand signal.
Wingapo. I mean, it's the real Pocahontas, and she's gonna ask those kind of questions. She's
Yeah,
curious.
yeah. But I think there's like a video on TikTok of like a kid walking by Pocahontas and she's like, "I like your outfit and your crown, wing up."
Yeah,
It's just like you have to like put that at the end of every sentence, but okay.
she knows what the people want. She's like, that's what I'm here. I live in this weird reality where I live at Disneyland. Just gotta
yep.
Wingapo it.
Wing up, it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, so speaking of Disney princesses, right? So he is like, Maui's like, I'm not gonna do it. And she's like, so you want to be the loser who like destroy the world? Because that's what people know you as right now. And he's like, I don't want to listen. You're not even a sailor, you're a princess. And she's like, I'm not a princess, I'm a chieftain's daughter, or a
Yeah.
chief's daughter. And he's like, you have an animal friend and you're in a dress, you're a princess. And this is before we reach the full stage where in Disney movies it's like a snake eating its own tail and how much they reference their own brand.
Yeah.
This is like kind of in the Frozen era where we're like, we're close,
Yep.
it's like you're close to it. This is probably as far as you should go. And they're like, oh, we're gonna go
No, we're gonna
farther.
go little.
How
You'll
far
see
can we
how
go?
far I'll
How
go,
far I'll
Disney
go.
says.
Bob
You'll
Iger
see.
says, yeah.
Yeah, Bobby's like, oh, you'll see how far I go.
Yeah. Uh, and he gets shot by the ocean shoots him with a blow dart in his ass.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now you got to show her how to sail because you can't do anything.
Yep.
So she learns how to sail, but he also pees on her because he's
That's
like,
terrible.
feel the water. Uh,
Like if it's cold, you're not going the right way, but
yeah,
if it's warm, you're going the right way. She was like, "Oh, it's cold." And he goes, "Oh, it's getting warmer." And he's just laying there smiling. And it's just like you realize that he's peeing in the ocean on her hand. I'm like, that's disgusting.
disgusting. Because she already shaded the ocean for saying fish pee it. She's like, fish pee on you all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now
Now,
apparently demigods
pee in
pee in the
her.
ocean as well.
So I had this thought. This is like a step beyond refrigerator logic because I was like thinking about like I was when I was at Disneyland, I was like, I really have to pee, and then I thought of like the Maui scene, and then I was like, how did they go to the bathroom on that boat?
That's a question.
That's a question, and I know
That is
we
a
we did
question.
not need it answered. I really don't want to know.
Helen, I swear to God, if someone at Disney is listening to this and they put it in the live action Moana, it's on you.
It's on me.
Oh my God.
The
If they
live
have like
act.
a joke where like Dwayne the Rock Johnson just like puts a porta potty on the like boat and is like pointing at it like
It's gonna be. I don't think we need to make a live action Moana. I'm excited for Moana too.
yeah, I don't know how the live action Moana is gonna look, but you know, there's also
Yeah,
the fever dream that is the live action Lilo and Stitch, so you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
And I
Ali.
love live action Little Mermaid, so you know, I'm not like I don't hate live action movies. There's just some where it's like that one.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Moana. It's just too soon. That's
Yeah, that's also another thing. It's like it feels very soon.
yeah. Like I think like and to have a sequel and a live action coming out at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it feels a
weird.
little weird. It's like a
Feels a little
Frozen.
cash grabby to me,
Yeah, it's like
in my
if
humble opinion.
if they're gonna announce like a Frozen live action, that'd be hilarious.
I mean, Once Upon a
I mean, we
Time, it
already
was
got
already too soon.
yeah.
That was
Once
like
Upon
when
a
the
Time was like
show,
concurrent, and it was like, okay, this is weird.
yeah, that's when the show really went off the rails. I feel like it was like, okay, now it's Frozen. Yeah, it's live actions. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, we've talked about it. Listeners will know. Listeners will know. And it's like, I think Ali is a very smart girl because she's like, yeah, I mean, I wanted to, but they're going to be in live action. She's like,
I'll produce
no,
it.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
produce it. Get some credits, beef up that IMDb page.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Have some creative influence. Be in it? No, thank you.
No, thank
yeah.
you.
Because also, The Rock was sort of canceled. And again, like we talked about time, I don't know enough or care to know enough about the details, but I think he complained about wokeness or something.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, you're getting that
Also,
paycheck.
how is he gonna look with like that much hair on his head?
Oh, that's,
Well,
I know
here's the
that's not
thing.
like a big part, like that's not like the most
Have
important
you
part.
guys seen the 2001 film The Scorpion King? It's in the Mummy, Brendan Fraser Mummy universe. Have you guys seen that?
Oh wait, okay, I'm like looking up.
He had
Oh boy.
hair in that. And
Okay, but what's up
listen,
with that hairline? It's like here.
exactly. That's a great question.
Like I feel like, you know, they're gonna have to like put like a yarn wig on him or
What
something.
about
And also like when I imagine Maui, like I mean Dwayne like The Rock is big, but like I imagine Maui being like more like a rectangle.
yeah.
yes,
Because
he's
So
the
he's based on
biggest,
like a
chunkiest
Samoan,
Dorito.
yeah.
yeah, like a
So like
Samoan
is
chief
The
kind of
Rock gonna
vibe.
have to eat more French toast? Like
That's why he really wants to do it. He's like, oh, I guess
let me
I,
eat all of my peanut butter
yeah.
thick French toast, which by the way you can I think you can still get at Century City Mall, which is freaky, but
Oh my gosh, where Ken learned about the world.
yeah.
Uh, so so he shows her how to sail, and she has a bad dream of her island being destroyed. So the stakes are to remind us of the stakes, and they get to the entrance to Lalo Tai, the land of monsters, movie original, as far as I know. I couldn't find anything else about it other than like Moana stuff. But this is one of those things I saw. I was like, oh, this is just a thing in Polynesian lore. It's not. Uh, so Maui complains about her not being a voyager, and she's like, why did the ocean choose you? And she's like, she's kind of just like, well, it just chose me. And I think the answer is her compassion.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and that's it's a really like fun way to like keep her in alignment with the Disney princess characters that came before her, yet
Hmm.
update it for like this kind of story. I was like, this movie's so smart.
Yeah.
But they enter the land of monsters, which would also be a fun part of the ride. But if you go down something and then there's all the
Oh
little glowing
yeah.
stuff, yeah. So there's like glowing environment, kind of strange world vibes. It reminds me of Rock Bottom, where SpongeBob
Mm,
falls asleep on the
yeah.
bus. Yeah. Uh, I think this Rock Bottom is located in Lalo Tai. That's my headcanon. And so they find Tamatoa, like she finds Tamatoa, and he is a giant heap of gold. He's got gold all
Well,
over his shell.
Maui uses her as bait. He
Yeah.
makes her dress up in shiny stuff
And
and
she's
she
like,
goes out and
I'm a shiny thing. And he's like, you're not selling it. And he's like, this plan is stupid.
yeah.
They had a really good chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh and he's like, ooh, shiny thing. So we meet Tamatoa. He sings the song Shiny. It's very Bejeweled by Taylor Swift coded. Uh he
Or
can make the whole room shimmer. And he
Again,
this song,
Lin-Manuel Miranda's version of the song, top tier.
this song living in my head rent free, perhaps all the time. Because it will frequently enter my mind and then I have it in my mind for a couple weeks and then it goes away.
then you see something shiny.
Anytime I see something shiny, I'm like, ooh, so shiny. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so catchy. And the guy who plays Tamatoa, Jermaine Clement, is just so funny.
Yeah. And this is there's also a really great heavy metal cover that I play on a Halloween playlist by Jonathan
Oh,
Young. It's like a screamo
Whoa.
metal. Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
yeah.
Um and he's like, "Oh, did your granny say listen to your heart? She lied.
Granny lied.
He's gonna eat her." And then Maui like gets his fish hook, but he can't like control. He's lost his mojo. He's
Hmm.
lost his Miss Mojo. He's
Ms. Mojo,
Ms.
thank you.
Mojo. He's turning into different like animals and he can't control it. And so he almost uh dies and he explains that like Maui had a tragic backstory where he's
Yeah.
like, you were abandoned and now you're chasing the love of a human to make you feel wanted. It's like,
Mhm.
wow,
It
relatable.
got it
I
gets
wasn't a, it
that
gets
gets
deep.
dark,
I was like,
dark and deep in
to
this dark,
clarify,
deep cave.
in the cave of Lalotai.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not abandoned myself. It's but it's like, we all want to feel wanted. Uh but yeah, that was dark. And so she makes a bait, like a fake heart. She does a
Yeah.
tray. And so
It's
I
like, oh,
wrote,
I see what she's done.
yeah,
She's covered a stone in bioluminescent algae.
she's a multi-class druid rogue. She
Yeah.
has high dex, high charisma, high wisdom. That's the moment we want to build. Uh And so they escape, and they make a deal to work together, but he's half shark, and she doesn't want to say it. It's very
Sharkhead.
it's very similar to there's a scene in Nimona, actually, that's a lot like
Mm.
this. And you know, so she's gonna help him work on his stuff because he's a hero, and he explains like his tragic backstory that he was a human who was abandoned by his parents and chosen by the gods and given the fish hook. Um, and she's like, "No, you got this. You can restore the heart. We're gonna train together." They have a song training montage, but again, this is a different backstory for Maui than
Mhm.
in the myth.
Mhm.
Uh, and so they're training. Things are going well. They're on their way to Taka. They see her, and they're like, and Moana sees that she can't go into the water. She's like on
Mhm.
this cliff. They're almost at Te Fiti. And so he's losing, and she's like, oh, like we got to go this way. And she like goes really fast, but it fails. She tries to get through the passage. It almost gets them killed, and his hook is damaged.
Hmm.
And he's mad. And she's like, I thought we could do it. And he's just like, no, I thought I could do it. And he's like, you think you can do these things, but you can't, Nemo.
Exactly. You
Uh,
can't, Moana.
and that's a line from Nemo I think of all the time for whatever
Yep,
reason.
absolutely.
And so he flies off. He's like, you know what? I can't give up the hook. He's too attached to his pride because without the
Yep.
hook, he's nothing special. And so Moana's there, and she's like, I didn't ask for this, and asked to be chosen. She throws up the heart, throws away the heart, not throws up. Hey, hey,
Blech.
hey, hey, throws up the heart
Hey,
several
hey,
times.
yes.
Uh, and we see the light of the stingray. We see her grandmother there. And this is
Mhm.
where we get like the I Am Moana song where she's like, I- I'm sorry I was so hard on you. I pushed you too hard. Like, I don't blame you if you just want to go home, but you've
Yeah.
come so far.
Mhm.
You love your island, you love the sea. And Moana realizes that like she's descended from voyagers. She got them this far. She loves her island, she loves the sea. She's Moana.
Mhm.
She's Rosemary's granddaughter, a spitting image of her father. She just
That's a deep cut.
it's a deep cut. But she's like, I can do
Love that
this
song. What a great song.
because she's about to give up. And it's like, but
Yeah,
like we know she can do it,
Yeah.
you
absolutely.
know?
And now she's upskilled in voyaging. She
Yeah.
knows how to use her hand to see the stars. She can do it. She
Yeah.
can tie those knots real good. She's got this.
If you fail at a boss fight, you just
You
gotta
just
try it again.
Yeah.
you just gotta keep standing up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Especially now that you've seen the way to actually beat the boss, like you just
Yeah.
gotta take a little breather, tie your hair up and then go for it.
Yeah, there's actually, I think it's Lindsay Ellis who has a great video comparing like this scene with Moana and her grandmother and like her identity with the one with Pocahontas and grandmother Willow, and how this one really builds on that in like a stronger way of like
Hmm.
less like, oh, you just have to do this, it's your destiny, but being like, you don't have to, like I shouldn't push you, but like you have this strength too, like you're
yeah.
capable of
Hmm.
it. Um, and she's like, yeah, that's who I am. Like there's this like identity is a big part and like that we contain multitudes. We're not just one
Hmm.
thing. I think it's kind of like the deeper theme of the movie. So she goes by herself. She tricks Tekka. She does like a bait and switch feint,
Hmm.
and she gets through the passageway, but it's still tight. She's still fighting like a giant fire demon.
Yeah.
And so
Giant lava, dripping lava demon,
yeah.
lots of smoke and ash in the air. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
So Maui shows up to help. He's like, you got this. Like, and he said, you go restore the heart because he like, I hold Taka, you
Hmm.
go. She goes and then she sees like a giant, like the ocean is like a Tempur-Pedic mattress or like a memory foam mattress.
Yes,
And
there's
there's
like an
like,
imprint of like where Te Fiti would have been. And she's like, oh, she's not here.
and
She's
then
gone.
she's gone, but she looks at Taka and she
And she's
sees like the
like,
symbol.
she's like, aha.
She puts it together.
Hmm.
She rolled that nat
D20,
20.
yeah, the nat 20.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
Nat
she's
20 perception?
yeah, or insight, perception insight,
Insight,
yeah.
yeah.
And so she's like, "Oh, I know who you are." And she's like, "Ocean, let me go to her." And so
Yep.
it parts into cause pouring towards her, and we get this song where she's like, and this movie solves like I have this complaint in so many more recent Disney movies where like they don't have any songs towards the end,
Mm.
Right.
and this movie doesn't have that where they use the songs at the emotional peaks
Yep.
because she's like,
I know who you
"You
are.
are like this doesn't define you." Which you know what is nice to hear when you're having a bad day.
Yeah, she's having a bad millennia
Yeah.
and it's not her fault. Like,
Her heart was really
heart was
ripped
literally
out.
ripped out of her.
Yeah.
And now she's like being like a lava monster. And it's like, yeah, I would too, probably.
Yeah.
I've become a lava monster for much less, you know.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I've become a lava monster because if you try and get coffee in Los Angeles after 11 a.m., fool's errand.
Yeah.
Like you better be
You're
willing to
lining
wait
up
30 minutes.
with, the whole block.
Yes, you're in somebody's TikTok live, you
Oh,
know.
Oh gosh, I literally went to Target once at 9 p.m. and there was a guy like filming snack reviews. And I'm pretty sure I walked into the freaking like TikTok video and he was like doing like some like weird like impression of like Yogi Bear or something. And I was like, I just want, my Celsius and I want to go home. Like,
You're like, what
do you
fresh
have to film
hell?
this at Target?
literally, the public areas of Los Angeles seem like a hellscape to me.
I mean, even
I mean, I work in Beverly Hills, so like there's always those like
Oh my
Hollywood
God.
buses. And I'm
Yeah.
just like waving at all of them, like, hi, I'm not Jennifer Lopez, but I work at a talent agency. It's like my Disney princess moment. It's my wayfinding moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
We when we were at Disney the other day or like this weekend, like I was with my friend, we're in line for Casey Jr. at like night because I love doing Fantasyland at night, like as the because like the lines are short and it's really pretty. It's like classic Disney, it's a great way to end your day. And there's these like people live streaming behind us, this like group of people of influencers, and they're talking about times when people were trying to get them to stop filming and they were like hiding it. And I was just like, I
Main
can't.
character syndrome. It's too
Giving
much.
a bad rap.
Yeah. No, it's like because my friend was like, "Oh my gosh, I hate influencers." And I'm like, "Yeah, especially the live streaming aspect is what really gets to me because like when people like film videos of like this is what I do at the parks, like this is how I like these are my tips or like just videos of the rides or stuff. I'm like, not everyone can afford to go or
Yeah.
like has one local, so it's like a great way, like
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah, to
lot.
feel like you're a part of the experience. But when it gets
Yeah.
obnoxious and weird,
Yeah, whenever you invade someone else's like enjoyment or personal space, that's where I'm
Yes.
like, you should never do that for anything, let alone
yeah.
Hmm.
influencing. It's like I was talking about like the social contract the other day because I went to a comedy show and I was like, you want to go in and be willing and ready to laugh,
Hmm.
that's like part because then the comedian feels comfortable, they get funnier. It's like your social contract. And like
Yep.
Disneyland theme parks have a similar thing. Like it's supposed to be the happiest place, right? If you come in with like a good vibe and like you're really nice to everyone around you and you're not like pushing people, like then we're all
Yeah.
having a good time. We're having a good vibe. Like you make it. The happiness is the friends you make along the way.
It's the strangers who are polite to you along the way.
Yeah.
And not the strangers who push you or make weird comments or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put you in their live. Because then they sat on the ride right next to us, and we were both like, I don't know what I would do on a Disney ride that I wouldn't want on TikTok. Like it's like I don't know what, but I was like, I don't want to be live streamed.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's sometimes like, ugh,
yeah,
like let me jump out of this frame.
Like
Like,
you're already being surveyed enough by the Disney Corporation and the government, let alone now being surveyed by the people who are watching other people's live streams. Like, come on.
yeah,
it's a nasty world out there.
Yeah.
yeah. As Adrian Monk used to say, it's a jungle out there. Shout out to Tony Shalhoub. I hope you're listening.
Oh
Tony
man.
Shalhoub, our biggest fan. Come on.
Yeah.
He
Absolutely.
is a big part of the fam to see.
See. uh, so her compassion restores the goddess Te Fiti. See, Moana, she knows a social contract. She knows how to be compassionate to people around her and see their best. So she restores her to like being the goddess of life. And you're like, there's flowers, there's grass. And she's like, basically says thank you, giving Moana a new boat, a floral boat. And she gives Maui a new fish hook. And she's like, I've been mad a long time. I'm tired. I need a nap. She has a
Yeah.
major hangover and migraine after that.
Oh yeah, an anger hangover. Like
Yeah.
I
Yep.
totally understand that. Like rage hangovers, absolutely.
So she's like, I'm gonna sleep and just like passively restore all life to the world. That's
Yep.
cool with you. Thank you.
Yep.
And so they return. Maui's like, she's like, oh, my people need a master voyager. And she's like, well, you're a master voyager.
Mm.
I'm like, I love that. Uh, and so she returns, she reunites with her parents and Pua, who's there. And now people are willing to voyage again.
Yeah.
We get a musical finale. Another thing I'm
You
like,
get more Lin-Manuel Miranda singing.
yeah, but this time at least I get a finale song at the end of my Disney movie, so I'm like, I'll deal with it. I'll take it.
It's a great emotional surge to like the icon, the logo, like her
Yeah,
name. And it's just like, why doesn't every Disney movie do that? I don't like,
yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
It's like
They
it gives
used
you like the
to.
musical
I mean,
chills and
Little
you're like,
Mermaid ended with that, nice, finale song.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It certainly had, but like, yeah, I don't know if Frozen really had like a finale song.
The Frozen 2 does do that
Frozen,
chant at the end, so it does give a
yeah.
big swell. But yeah, it's like, why
I
don't
don't think
they?
Tangled did.
Yeah, Tangled didn't have a finale song.
Frozen 1 has also like the nice music where it's like
Do you want to
she's
build a
been
snowman?
yeah,
Oh
restoring
yeah.
the
Yeah, but that's not a
but it's
true.
not
It's
yeah, it's
not
not this.
celebratory,
This is
like
like this is powerful.
This is
'Cause she's got like
classic.
her whole village coming with her.
Yeah.
She's like in her leadership gear. She's showing people how to do it. She's showing her dad, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
And so
She's
like,
covered in flowers too. She's having her kind of princess moment. This is her
yeah.
like big
This is this is her big outfit.
And then
yeah,
it's
this
just
is
like the
her
big swell of music and then like the boom cut to it's so
yeah. And
beautiful.
like we see Maui
Yeah.
fly by, we see her
Yep.
grandmother in the water. It's like she has achieved everything she set out to achieve. She saved her people. She's opening their
It's
minds.
deeply satisfying of
Yeah.
an ending.
And the music, because when you have a song, you don't have to like have someone go by and be like, and now I learned this. It's like
Yeah.
the music tells it all. And you can see just like in little actions. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great ending. 10
It's
out of
like we're
10.
Voyagers again.
Yeah.
Like, and it just, she did that. She made it happen, and we're proud of her.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
Doesn't even
That's
need a sequel, and yet.
I listen, I am not a sequel person because I think if like your first movie does really well, it's like, don't touch it. Just like
yeah.
move to something
Yeah.
else, do something else that good with
Unless
these
it's gonna like be
characters.
something that like really like adds to the story or like does something
Yeah, I
like I
take it
think
or leave it.
I think some of the Aladdin sequels did it really well, where they kind of expanded upon it. Little
Yeah.
Mermaid 2, I love, for better or for worse. Uh, love me
we're
some
we,
melody, love me some melody, Return to the Sea. I think I don't know what they're gonna do with Moana 2 though. Like, what new adversary is she going to like face? What new issue is she gonna face? Are we gonna have like the island needing more resources again? Like,
yeah, I
Or they
I
could
think
don't know
encounter
what
another island, another civilization.
ooh.
Because
okay.
that's what I'm thinking. Because like now they're voyagers. Okay, on their voyages, oh, now they've encountered someone else. Maybe they're not so nice.
Yeah. Or they don't have a nice leader and they need to like kind of overcome a
So the
conflict.
movie kind of derived from the TV show, like because
Yeah.
so I don't know. Maybe it will be that. Maybe like the TV show was planning this like multi-episode arc of like
Mm,
them
Yeah.
encountering this other like island, and then they were like, "Oh, this doesn't really work as a TV show. Let's make it a movie
yeah.
and
I
release it in theaters
I
and
think the world
more
of
money."
Moana makes sense for a sequel. I will say, like, and I'll just say this because I know someone who's working on it, and she's like, it seems good, but
Okay,
like I think like
I'm cautiously optimistic.
yes, because I think the world of Moana, it's like she's an adventurer, she's an explorer, so she's
True.
always going to discover new things. I think like with Frozen 2, you could tell like I mean there's some great things about that movie, but you could tell it was like they wanted us to make a Frozen 2 and like we have to find a way to like pull them out because they're not explorers, right? They're not leaving there. And
Hmm.
so when you talk about
Yeah.
like the straight to DVD ones, like I mean, we know I'm a Cinderella 3 stan from our episode on it, but like that one like doesn't make sense as a premise, and that's part of the charm. Like Aladdin has like a whole world. That's why there's like a show and then movies
Yeah.
because it's like set in a setting that like naturally creates conflict. And
Mhm.
so I think there could be like with Frozen, I feel like they should have had a villain because Elsa is so super powered. She had like a
Yeah.
villain to fight against. I don't feel the same about Moana because she has a lot of power, but like I think
Not
like
sh
her strength is like her compassion. And so I
yeah.
think you could have a conflict that's much more of a like
Yeah.
both sides, like there could be a like she has to like find a middle ground kind of thing. And maybe it like pushes her in a way like it's harder to have compassion than in the case of like Taka and Te Fiti, where she could
Yeah.
put it together easier. So I think there's like a there's definitely I could see like okay, a sequel for this.
Yeah.
Sometimes even there's a sequel coming out for a movie and I'm like, I don't know if we needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think like I said, but it's a different composers.
Oh,
Lynn
really?
Lynn
Well,
heard us complain and he's like, okay, well,
He heard
I
us
won't be
just
there.
now
Yeah. And
and
he's
stepped
like,
away from the project a couple years
I'm
ago.
gonna,
yeah.
I'm wondering how the songs are gonna turn out. Cause like my thing with Wish was like, you know, I think it was an interesting concept, but then those songs just weren't quite delivering.
That's most of what we talked about in our Wish episode
I think it
was
was
that
98% of what we talked about.
It
We're like,
kind of felt like
there's something
Lin-Manuel
here.
Miranda Jr. light, and I was like, I
Or
mean,
it felt like 'cause
like it was
I think,
trying to be something that it wasn't.
yeah,
yeah.
it was like Lin-Manuel Miranda without like the the good lyrical quips that he
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
He's
And
a
that's
really good lyricist.
I
Yeah.
am worried now about the sequel, knowing that he's not involved, even though like
Obviously, there's other incredibly talented,
obviously,
Yeah.
but it also is about
composers and
like the
lyricists, but
consistency too of like the
yeah.
sound and the lyrical quality.
That's what was so beautiful about Moana. I think especially like with how far I'll go, just like that power, like, I think I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But then
Interesting.
some sequels have given us some great songs. I mean, one of my favorite Frozen songs is Kristoff's song in Frozen 2. So
Frozen 2 did have some bangers.
maybe
Yeah.
we'll get some more bangers in Moana too. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously
Yeah.
Uh,
optimistic.
so as we talk about our characters, I mean, we usually ask, do we root for a protagonist? And I think we obviously do. I
Yeah.
think for like,
Yeah.
I think it would be impossible not to root for her because like
yeah,
she she only has like the best of intentions, and again they set her up really well for like, okay, she's gonna be good enough that she's safe, but like she needs to upskill. So okay, there's gonna be some growth there. She's under some pressure. She's got to learn to cope with that. Like and she also like she wants to save the world
Yeah.
in sort of a big way, because we can also assume that it's also affecting other parts of the world, but
yeah,
like it's also a small world, her village. So it's like it's very easy to root for her. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think Maui makes a great foil. That
mhm.
kind of points out like Moana isn't doing this for like personal glory.
Yeah.
Like it's a desire for exploration and a desire to help her people. And Maui is so he likes to help people, but it's primarily like
Yeah.
he does
So
it
he can
for
feel good about himself.
yeah. And so it's like still like you can get it, you can sympathize,
Yeah.
but like he has to learn something like when he's unwilling to sacrifice. And then
Yeah.
at the end he is willing.
I
Uh
do find it interesting that we don't see his turn.
Mm.
yeah.
And it's off screen and then he comes back. And I wonder if it's because that might overshadow her arc too much.
And I think
Because it
it's
isn't Moana and Maui. It is
yeah.
Moana.
Yeah.
And I think almost every scene in the movie has Moana in it.
Yeah, I think so.
Because so this is very much like her journey. So like Frozen, say like it's split, like so you see kind of multiple characters' perspectives, or their story, like older ones, like Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella, where it's like we're seeing all these different. It's almost an ensemble piece, and this is very
Yeah.
much like centered on Moana and like
Yeah.
her goals. There's no like villain that we're cutting to,
Mm.
Right.
It's so I
Yeah.
think that's probably why maybe they even planned something.
Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, and we talked about we love the grandma.
Hmm. Love her. So
Hey,
good.
hey does help at the end.
That is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Uh,
he weirdly learns, even though we can't really tell if he's actually learning anything or if he happens to be in the right place at the right time. which I think is fun for a little animal character.
Yeah.
Um, because he's still like consistently very stupid and like we love that about him. He's a DBU alum.
DBU alum.
It's the
Yeah.
DBU alum. Actually, he's the DBU mascot. Hey,
Yes.
hey. um,
uh
yeah,
yeah. And we have some great, not like villains, but like, so like Tamato is like a fun kind of like
Yeah.
mid-tier boss, and then like
yeah,
Taka is actually like a really good twist villain, because I did not see that coming
yeah,
Mm.
when I saw
right.
that movie, and like then you're like, oh.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think and I think what's interesting about the story is then it kind of says that like everyone can be redeemed.
Hmm.
And
yeah,
I think that's a great message that like someone
Yeah.
who is having a bad day or is not being nice, not acting right, like they can be redeemed. And I think
yeah,
that's a great way. And you can help, you know,
yeah.
support people who are going through a hard time or being mean. Like you can still be nice to them and have compassion.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
And I think like the concept of identity, and that we contain multitudes, right? Like
Yeah.
she
Yes.
can see that she can be both Taka and Te Fiti, just like Moana loves her island and she loves the sea.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's all supported by our music, which I think is really strong.
Yeah.
Uh, and the water is also so gorgeous.
It's
Oh
beautiful.
yeah. I love that they give the water like it doesn't have a face or anything, but
But
when
it
it is
has
just
so
like
much
yeah, it
personality.
has like this
Yeah.
little wave that like when she's like the little kid version,
Yeah.
like she like tilts her head and it tilts its head. You know, it's wonderful. It's so cute. Yeah.
It's mischievous. That's what grandma says.
Yeah.
I like how it
Yes.
misbehaves.
Yeah. And I also
Mhm.
think that like it does a I think it's a good balance between personifying and keeping it as like this helpful character, but not making it like like too personified, if that makes sense. Like it's
Yeah.
just enough.
Yeah. This movie stays very focused.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that kind of leads us to our questions. It's a double pronged question. We ask, is that your fantasy? So on question one is like, do you like the movie? And then the other aspect of is that your fantasy is like, is that like a fantasy adventure you'd want to live out? So Hannah, was that your fantasy?
Yeah, I love this movie. I don't love being on like kayaks or canoes all the time because I am afraid of drowning, but I do
Like
have fun when
Pua?
I'm doing it. So I'm like Pua. I just need to get over my fear of the
Yeah.
water. But yeah, no, like it's a great movie and I think this would be a fun adventure. I would Moana. I would go, you know what? I would be like the helpful one who's like, I'm gonna keep the canoe clean, make sure, you know, everything's where it's supposed to be. I'm
Make
gonna
sure
keep
that
Hey Hey from
also
jumping off.
where was their food? Also to like follow up on the bathroom question. Like
Yeah.
So
what
so basically where she stores Hey Hey, that's where they store the food. It's very similar to
okay.
like kayaks and stuff
Is
too.
that gonna
Like
be enough food?
probably not. And so that would
No.
be the thing is like I'll fish, you know,
Yeah.
I'll cook the food, you know, figure it out.
Build the
Um,
fire.
exactly.
Hmm. The
So
fire from the nails, the toenails of that
yep,
goddess. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, it is my fantasy.
Lyra.
I mean, yeah, to add on to what Hannah said, I love this movie and I grew up, by the water in Hong Kong, so I love being on the water. I love swimming even though I'm not the strongest swimmer. So in a way I kind of relate to Moana in that, she isn't initially so good at, wayfinding and she has to find her way and she's not immediately good at it. Like I think there's something so inspiring in the fact
Yeah.
she has to learn that, so many other, characters are just immediately like, whoa, I'm so good at, doing this or whatever. And like, it's great to see her journey and, figuring out, her relationship with the water. I think there's something really special about that. And I mean, I also like being dry though. So, that's something to consider. But I think it'd be a fun little journey to be, on the boat with her. So I would say, yeah, this is a really fun fantasy. It's a fun world and it's a fun adventure. Just breathing in that you know that ocean air. And just enjoying the water. I think there's a lot of fun to be had when
I want to
Moana.
touch that water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to feel, I can just imagine it feeling so nice and cool and
Mm,
on a hot day, you take a little dip, you take a little
mm.
swim, the water swirls your hair into a nice little ponytail, instead of like what usually happens, which your hair air dries after being on the beach and you're like, why is it so freaking crusty,
Yeah.
But
This water doesn't do that. This water's
and
special.
just have like Moana's perfectly texturized like ocean hair.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've always just loved Moana's hair. I'm like a big hair person, clearly. So, I'm just like, wow, her hair is just so beautiful and lush and thick. And like when it gets wet, it still has that like nice texture. God, I love
Yeah.
Disney. They're just really showing us,
Hair
all the
goals.
goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. She definitely uses some coconut
I think
oil, I
Moana
feel
has
like.
like top tier Disney hair, in my opinion. She's like up there with like
Absolutely.
Ariel and Rapunzel, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure other people would
100%.
disagree, but
They're haters. I don't
they're
know.
Yeah.
haters,
How
Fight
how
me.
come on,
I
look
mean,
at
we
that
love
hair.
Cinderella too, but like that hairstyle was boring.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Aurora's hair is
top
just
tier.
down. Like, a lot of those like classic Disney princesses, like
Snow White, I'm not loving that. Mm-mm.
no,
It's the
who wants
Bob.
to have a bob?
You know,
You know,
she rocks it.
I
She's
guess, but I
confident.
wouldn't look good in a bob. So like,
No.
Yeah, I mean Moana is like her hair, she's like doing action sequences and her hair is like just flowing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Uh
Meanwhile, if I were to do the same moves, I'd be out of breath and it would get in my face. So,
Yep.
gotta give it
I
to
mean,
her.
I have to put my hair up when I drive. So, like, I can't do anything. It's because my hair gets so fluffy and then like I'm trying to look and like my hair gets in the way, you
oh
know? I
yeah,
can't
trying to
I
check your
can't
blind spot.
I can't
I had to
tuck
make
my
sure,
hair before I
it's
check the
tucked
blind
behind the
spot.
ears.
Yeah, and like I look weird with my hair like that. I don't like doing that. So I'm like, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
put it up in a bun, and then that way I can very clearly look, you know?
Uh, I'm gonna say this is my fantasy because I think this is such a great hero's journey movie, and just I really like the messaging of like empathy and like that's what makes her like special
Yeah.
is that she has like an open heart and an open mind. And I think yeah, I also want to go on a magical journey through the ocean and play in that water and have a pig bestie, you
Yeah.
know.
I would want like a working toilet though. Like I
Yeah.
do appreciate.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, it's a bucket situation. Then you toss the bucket out in the
Yeah. Having grown
ocean,
up in Hong Kong
rinse
and done
it.
the squatty potty thing, it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're real, you know. You're like
Uh,
real ones
Trust
know
me,
it's
I've slipped across a bathroom floor in Beijing, so
Oh.
traumatic backstory unlocked.
traumatic backstories right there. So that part, I'd be like, okay, so can we like every day like go back to like a very 5 star? Can we go to Aulani at the end of the day? Can we go to like a resort at the end of the day so I can like
Yeah.
sleep in a proper bed and have a shower and
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
do my business in a regular toilet.
This is
Not to
like a
bring up the
weekend
toilet thing
thing.
over and over, but like it's a very
Yeah.
big thing to think about.
Yeah, this is a
yeah,
like a little weekend trip, but there is some other facilities on her canoe, and then we're set, and then we go back to the island where there's beds and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I did have to poop in the woods once, and I thought that would be the worst thing that ever happened to me. And here I am, I lived. So,
You know, I'm
you
proud of
know,
you.
I guess we can, we deal with, the good and the bad of every situation.
Yeah.
There's no perfect fantasy, but we can
yeah,
make it perfect in our
in our
minds.
minds. As Kelly
Exactly.
Clarkson says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And
Amen
I
to that.
And she definitely wrote that song after a really bad bathroom experience, like a gas station
Yes.
bathroom experience. She's like, oh, it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger.
She's
And then she's
literally
like,
road tripping for her concerts, right? She's
yeah,
like on tour and they're like, okay, the toilets on the bus don't work. You have to use that Circle K bathroom. Good luck, you know?
Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess Lyra, do you want to like kind of plug your social media where can people find you and
Yeah,
your gorgeous Disney outfits?
Thank you. Yeah. So basically the backstory behind that, I've always been a Disney fan. I grew up in Hong Kong, as I said. Um, and Hong Kong Disneyland opened when I was like 5 or 6. So it
Oh,
was,
Oh,
yeah, it was great to like grow up with like that park. I mean, it's like the smallest of the Disney parks, but for me, like it's so magical. And like
yeah.
I experienced it when I was like 3 or 4 lands, which is bananas. And my
yeah.
brother is 8.5 years older than me, so a lot of his classmates at school were like Disney executives for the park, and his best friend worked at the hotel. So I just like grew up around Disney. He would like come home and he'd be like, "Oh, Mark gave you this like, little like little mouse hats, the ones with your name embroidered on the back," which would be a security nightmare in this age, I think. But like back then they were like, that was the Disney accessory to wear. So I still have those, and I've always loved Disney. And basically during the strike last year, I was like, okay, I've got all this free time. What should I do with my time? Buy a Disneyland pass. So I bought the Inspire Key, which is the highest tier, and one thing about me, I take anything I do to the extreme, which is how I ended up at a talent agency in the first place. But I bought the Inspire Pass and was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the parks all the time. And then I met some people along the way and was like, ooh, dressing up sounds fun and cool. And putting these outfits together is super fun because I have to look super corporate at my job. And, you know, clearly by my hair color, that's not exactly who I am. I love to be a little whimsical. So yeah, I run this little like Instagram account called Bright Young Lyra, obviously referencing one of my favorite, Disney songs of all time, Part of Your World, the bright young women, sick of swinging.
Oh,
Love
Do
I
that.
they
love that.
understand? And yeah, I pretty much go to the parks like every week and I run around in dresses or skirts or whatever, uh, you know, and put together outfits. And sometimes I hang out with people, and sometimes I'm just, drinking my cold brew on my own. But yeah, I love Disney and all that fun stuff. I thought I wanted to be an animator when I was 13 until I realized I can't draw the same thing twice. And that's a pretty major skill that you need to be an animator. So, now I work in talent representation with writers, but, you know, it's a fun
Yeah.
Oh,
fun thing. And I represent animation writers, so you can bring the worlds together.
My
nice.
gosh.
Awesome. Well, and so you
Yeah.
said it was at Bright Young Lyra,
On
right?
Instagram, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. We'll go check
Yeah.
her stuff out and follow
The
her Disney adventures.
Yeah, it's truly inspiring fits because when I go, I tend to like I have like one or two things. I'm like, this is my Disney shirt. This is where I'm gonna wear it. And my husband hates outfit repeaters. He's like, why are you doing that? Wearing that again?
Lizzie
And
McGuire, the outfit
I'm
repeater.
Lizzie McGuire, the outfit repeater,
Oh my
and
gosh. I
I
used to be that way, and then I don't know. There's so much merch. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
kind of insane. And now this episode is making me think because there's like one pair of Moana ears that they sell at the park, and they're kind of ugly. And I'm like, we deserve better as Moana fans. We
Yeah.
deserve better merch. Even right now at Pixar Fest, like a lot of the stuff that I'm wearing is like stuff that I'm a big Turning Red fan, and a lot of my Turning Red pieces are stuff that came out like with the movie. So
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
some of the stuff that I don't know. Some of it's really great. Like they have the customizable headbands from Tokyo finally, and that's really cute.
Ooh.
But they don't have all the characters yet, so it's like,
Mm.
okay, where are Goofy and Pluto? Where's Moana? Although they do have a Moana Nuimo, so there is some Moana love.
Someone want to love. Yeah, they need more for sure. And I did get a nice sweater though. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get something nice. And I got a nice sweater and I was like, I love this.
I saw you had the Princess Aurora sipper.
I
Is that
do,
what,
Yes.
yes.
is that what it was?
Yeah. Oh, I got this when I went in February. I got
Okay.
this because they were like, it's only 13 bucks. And I was like, that's nothing in this economy. See, that's the problem with my brain. I'm like, inflation. I'm like, oh, everything costs that much, but like I should spend less because everything costs more. But I'm like, well, that's nothing these days.
Nothing these days. I have the Bell one in the office actually, so I drink out of it like at my desk, like on meetings. I'm just drinking out of this like swirly Bell cup, and I'm just like, you know what? This is my vibe. This is
Yeah.
my vibe. My office bag is like an aerial lounge fly, you know? We're just living the dream. We're just living the dream.
Living the dream. Yeah. I have a Aurora Lounge fly too. Um,
Love it.
yeah.
I will say that there's not a lot of like there's no cute Aurora ears that they sell in the parks. And like the castle is
Is
Sleeping
her
Beauty's
castle.
castle. Like
Yeah.
where's the Aurora merch?
Lay some respect on her name. It's hard to find her too these days, but she's in the parade and she has a great outfit in the
She's in the
parade.
parade. She and Moana are in the parade, and
Yeah.
along with Merlin and Arthur. I love the Merlin sequence where he dances. It's one of my
Yes.
favorites.
My friend's kid thought that was hilarious and she's like, it's Dumbledore.
I had the same thing happen to me. I was like sitting at the for the parade, and like the kid next to me was like, "Is that Dumbledore?" And I was like, "Wrong park, buddy." But clearly we need to do some better Disney education. Like, let me teach a class on,
Yeah, well, for if you want to follow, if you want to join the fantasy, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Not My Fantasy Pod. And
For
if
as
you're
long as TikTok exists, I
for as long as
guess.
yeah, who knows? The main thing is we have one video that's a TikTok exclusive, or we have a couple. I gotta make sure those are safe
okay.
somewhere. The
Oh,
mainly
You
yeah.
the
gotta protect yourself in this day and age.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Again, I
gotta
am from Hong Kong where TikTok was banned, so
yeah.
Yeah.
I have the one of the ogre saying fuck them kids and fuck you too because
Yep.
Sleeping Beauty's stepmom was an ogre trying to
maybe you
eat her
gotta put
kids.
that on YouTube Shorts, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, we do. We got to
we do
convert everything
honestly.
over.
Gotta put that on the Asana ticket.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're
Uh,
following on YouTube, hello. How are you?
sound off in the comments.
Yeah,
Uh,
what's our comment?
uh, oh, we could have people, speculate about what they think Moana 2 is going to be about. Because,
Yeah,
like,
what's your
where do
best
you see
Moana
this
2
going?
theory? Yeah.
What's your Moana 2 fan fiction? To bring it back to
Yeah.
the Cullen's fan fiction days.
Yeah. What and does it involve Pokemon Go? Yes or no?
It has to. I was at Disney last night and there were people playing Pokemon Go while waiting for the tram to bring us back to the parking lot. So
Wow.
Disney and Pokemon Go together.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
people were still playing that. My
I
goodness.
guess so. I was literally like, oh, what? Like I saw this and she and her friend were like playing Pokemon Go and she was like, oh, I got this one. And I was like, dang, I haven't played that since college.
Yeah.
Yeah. And make sure to smash that like button.
Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and then also hit that notification bell. That way you get notified anytime we drop a new episode. Boy, what's our next episode, Cullen?
Oh, I'm so excited. For part 2 of Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we are exploring a franchise that spawned a potential lawsuit from the Maori people, but one that I was obsessed with as a kid. We're talking about the Bionicle movie, the first one, Bionicle 2003, The Mask of Light. And in chronology of Earth, we technically recorded this episode after recording Bionicle. So Hannah loved it. It's Hannah's new favorite thing. So
yeah, stay tuned for next week to find out how much I love that movie.
I'm gonna be very curious to see this episode.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna love it. It's chaos. Yeah, so stay tuned for next week's episode where you can find out Hannah's opinions on Bionicle Mask of Light.
Yes, the 2003
a high quality film.
Cinema.
Cinematic masterpieces.
Yes. Featuring my favorite cinematic flirting.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Yeah. So tune in for that. And Lyra, thank you so much for coming on. We had so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
We love our Disney episodes and we love Moana.
Yeah.
At least this one is a good one. At least this one is one that, we all loved. It's so much fun talking about things that we love instead of things that we hate.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking about things that I hate all the time. And, that's not fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sometimes fun, but it gets a little draining.
You need a balance.
It's sometimes fun. Sometimes it takes 3.5 hours and it's about Bionicle. Bye, listeners.
See you next week. Bye.